So this right here is actually not just any fabric. I know you're looking at it. This right here is actually parachute fabric.
So that's the secret sauce. And I present to you the king of the soft lights. Hello people of the internet. Myself Sagnik, your host. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to make a DIY version of the Aputure space light. If you have seen my last video, you have seen that Aputure space light costs a ton of money in India at least. So we had to DIY it. So in order to DIY the Aputure space light, we had to research on what is the material that is being used to make the Aputure space light, what are the dimensions, what are the ratios. And after some intricate research and calculations, we came across these numbers. But sadly enough, the version we made cannot be made with these figures in mind due to the unavailability of required materials. And right now we are running on the clock, so that's why please mind my bad lighting. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So jumping into the material, one of the most important material in this build would be the parachute fabric. Now you can find parachute fabric in Amazon as well, but I directly went to the original wholesale market where you get this fabric. So this is what I got. It's a durable parachute fabric which costs around $3 for 2 meters. That's a steal. After this, as we needed a light for our build, I went with a Digitech generic LED video light and I got the bicolor version one, so that now I can control whether I want my light source to be warm or white or both at the same time. Sorry for blasting your face. Now to fix the structure of our build, we would need embroidery hoops. Now this is where my calculations went wrong. Not the calculations, but the availability of the product went wrong. Ideally, for this build to work, I would have needed a minimum of 19-inch diameter embroidery hoop. But when I went to the marketplace yesterday, none of that was available. The only thing they had was 12-inch embroidery hoops. So we had to work with these. Lastly, you will also need a piece of cardboard, some of these metal clips, and some aluminum foil or probably mirror paper or probably any reflective paper you have. Now after you have received your material, now it's time to cut the material into a square. Now ideally you will be using the measurements that I have provided earlier, but since I told you that I am using a 12-inch embroidery hoop rather than the 20-inch one, my measurements are slightly different. I'm going to show you an example with a piece of paper. This is going to be the measurement that I'm using. Now as you can see, the circumference for a 12-inch diameter circle would be 38.7, but I'm adding an additional 1 inch. Because when I make a cylinder out of this, there would be an area which needs to be overlapped so that the sticking process or probably the stitching process is much easier and much more secure. After you have cut your piece, the only thing that you need to do is get it stitched or sticked. Now since I had a tailor available with me, I asked him to stitch this up for me. But if a tailor is not available to you, you can go about by sticking this with some hot glue. That's going to provide the same effect, but I went with stitching since that's going to give a much more cleaner look to the final product. Now after you have stitched the cloth, this is what the cloth will look like. Now additionally, I asked my tailor to also add an additional piece of circle with some zippers so that I can zip this up and this will give me a better control of how the light exits this source. Now after you're done with the cylinder, it's time to add the embroidery hoops. You have to attach them at the topmost portion and the bottommost portion so that they can form a good structure. Just place one hoop inside the cloth. As you can see, it's starting to form a structure. Then engulf that hoop with the bigger hoop from outside. Okay, so it will take you around 2 minutes. Well, it took me 2 minutes, but it depends upon the practice you have. And you can fit the frame like this. As you can see, the smaller circle or the smaller hoop resides inside the cloth, whereas the bigger hoop resides outside the cloth. So now let's continue with the other side. So this is the final design. which we are looking for. So let's check this design out with some lights. And here goes the holy grail of soft light. This is actually nice. Much better. Can you see the softness? Okay, a really bad thing happened to me. I completed the video, I finished the build, but guess what? The microphone was off. The microphone was off. Look. The build is complete. I have the contraption ready, yet the microphone was off. Let's redo this. Okay, so after we have completed our light modifier, the next step would be to develop the contraption which will hold the light. For that, as I told you, we would be needing a cardboard. So once you have your cardboard, place one of those embroidery hoops on the cardboard and draw a circle with the marker. Use the outside of the embroidery hoop to draw the circle. As you can see, this doesn't have to be a piece of art. You just have to draw a basic outline for the embroidery hoop. After this, just cut this circle out of the cardboard. As you can see, I have already cut the cardboard for the second time today. Now, in place of cardboard, you can also use MDF or probably plywood. I want my build to be lightweight, that's why I'm using a cardboard, but you're free to use MDF or whatever you want for this process. After getting this circle from the cardboard, the next step would be to stick the mirror paper or the reflective paper or the aluminium foil behind the brown side of the cardboard. Now, if you're using a plywood or MDF, you can choose any side that you want, but for this, I would like to use this side as a reflective paper. But since I'm out of reflective paper, you guys just have to imagine that I have used a reflective paper this side. Now, after you have stuck your reflective paper, the next step is to draw the outline of the light which you're going to use. Try to keep the light at more or less in the center of the circle and just use a marker to draw an outline of the light, like this. Every modern LED light will have an extended backplate for their heatsink purpose. Now we are going to use this design in our favor to create the contraption to lock our LED video light. Now after you have marked the extended area like this, you can cut the area out. So technically you have to cut all the shaded region so that all the extended part can protrude out from the cardboard and the rest of the light's base will be used against itself to pull the light outside. We will use gravity in our favor to make the contraption work for us. At this moment, I can show you the previously built contraption so that you might understand well. As you can see, this is the hole which we created last time when you guys were unable to hear the audio, and this is our light, and as you can see, it fits exactly through the light so that when you use a battery and use a quarter inch thread adapter, tripod or probably a monopod to hold the light, gravity will work in our favor to hold the contraption. But if you ask me, how will I make the contraption stick with our modifier? Well, there comes the metal clip. Firstly, take your modifier and then place your contraption just above the top region. Now I'm going to use 3 metal clips to clamp this to our modifier. As you can see, the contraption is in place. Now all it remains is to pull our light out from the bottom. And once you get a hold of the battery, you can easily screw your tripod or probably even a monopod or a boom pole in this 1/4 inch thread and turn your lights on. Let me decrease the opacity, the brightness. And there you have it. Your light, which is fixed with a contraption. You can use this to light exterior scenes as well as interior scenes. And moreover, the best thing about this light is, since it's powered by an external battery, you can use it anywhere you want. It is very convenient to use this light for a moving subject. And there you have it, guys. Finally, I think this time I'm recording the audio. Yes, this time I'm recording the audio. that was the DIY space light. I know it probably might not fulfill all the necessary advantages which you get from probably an Aputure space light, but well, it's cheaper to make and it's really convenient to use. So I hope you like this video. If you want to see some test footage using this light, then stay tuned for the next week's video where we will be discussing about production of a music video. In that video, we will go deep into how you can use this light to modify your scenes. Until then, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, keep creating.